I'm behind the lens and you're out there in the cold and the rain, and look at you.
It's spring. It is spring. I can feel it coming. I'm pushing it a little, but I want to get peas in the ground because we have kids coming to camp this year, and I want them to be able to snack on these sugar snap peas because they love them. So I tend to plant my peas early and hope for the best, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So when you want to plant your peas, you're ready to go. You'll notice today we are not at the Farm to Table Kids farm. When I plant peas there, it's a totally different experience as to planting for your home garden. So we're at my home raised bed, and I haven't planted anything in this garden yet. So I'm going to show you how to prep your bed and plant some peas. A couple things I want to show you. One of the tools I'll be using today is a broad fork. You don't need a broad fork for this. All the broad fork does is loosen the soil and give it turns over the soil really nicely and gives air to the soil. So that's what I'm going to be using. If you don't have a broad fork, you can use a pitchfork or even a shovel. It's just to turn the soil over a little bit. Other things I'll be using are bed rakes, Bordenova netting. I'm going to top dress with some Coast of Maine soils, and I'll talk to you about that as we go. And of course, peas. You'll notice, Cameron, if you can show everybody the peas that are soaking in water right now. I always soak my peas overnight prior to planting. So as you can see, it's cool and kind of rainy today. It doesn't matter. It's perfectly pea planting weather, and I already soaked my peas, so we're getting these babies in the ground. So the first thing I did, I raked out my bed and pulled up any weeds and roots or any leftover vegetables that might be from last year. If you notice, this bed here, I haven't raked out yet, but if you have decomposing matter like this, you really want to get it out of your soil. You don't want things self-seeding, and you also don't want things decomposing like that in your active soil. So once it's all raked out, I'm going to broad fork. You want to not step on your soil as much as possible. So we have a rule at farm camp where we make trails, but inevitably kids are going to step on it, and that's okay. But because this bed is being planted into for the first time this season, and the soil tends to get compacted over winter with snow and ice and everything else, I just go through with the broad fork and loosen the soil. And you can see how if I were planting something like carrots, beets, root vegetables, this is really important. And when
this actually is like fitness for gardeners, you know?
Really
when it looks like a little fitness class you're doing here.
Farmers are the original CrossFit, I think. Could be. It could be. But see how this makes it just so nice and loose? And it really does just transform the soil. And because I always plant radish with my peas, I want to make sure the soil is nice and loose for that.
Why do you plant radish with your seeds?
Thanks for asking, Cameron. Radish and peas both grow so fast, and they grow really well together. So radish turns around really quickly, and so do peas. Peas are really heavy eaters, so I love to fertilize my peas with Stonington mix, actually. And when doing that, the radish really benefit from it. You know what I did one year, years ago? Oh my gosh. It really does matter what you plant next to your vegetables. Like companion planting is so important with organic gardening. The reason is plants really do react to other plants around them. One year, I planted peas and onions together, and the peas grew about this big. I barely got any blooms, and it's because I planted onions next to them. They do not like to be next to onions. So, Farm to Table Kids, I'm really big into companion planting and organic farming. So, we actually have a really cool companion planting list that we'll put up on the Coast of Maine and Farm to Table Kids websites. Okay, so now that I've broad forked, I'm going to add a few bags of Coast of Maine raised bed mix. You can kind of see my soil line is pretty low, and I want to get my soil back up over the midline. So I'm just going to add this to refresh my soil. Look at the healthy worms in here!
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it! Yay! Oh, there's more! There's so many worms! So even just using the broad fork, do you see how much? Look, there are worms
That's what happens. It
everywhere.
brings them up.
Look how much life we just brought up.
And it shows you how healthy the soil is,
And
too.
see how that's better than, like, think about tilling and how tilling just, like, chews all that up.
Well, that's right. You don't want to disrupt the soil too much. You just want to be able to air it out, open it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in airing it out and top dressing as much as possible. So this is a bed rake, and I love this bed rake so much. It's great to just finish, get everything nice and even, and then when we're using this out in the fields at the farm, it's just terrific for making nice, even with beds.
So this raised bed is about 6 by 6, right?
Yes.
Then you added 2 bags of Costa Maine's Castine raised bed mix. I think that's the 1 cubic foot. So you've added, in this case, you've added about 2 cubic feet as kind of a top dress.
Yep.
And you've already got really healthy soil.
The soil is so nice. I've only ever filled this with Coast of Maine, so this is just like...
Well, that's why it's so healthy looking.
That's exactly right. I could rake this all day, so I'm going to move on from raking. I love it so much. Okay, so we have our bed prepared. We have some nice fresh soil on there. I'm going to take my hoe, and since we're at my home garden in the fields, you know, the kids love doing this in the fields. And guys, planting peas with kids is so great because peas are easily held by little kids' hands, and they can space it out so well. You don't have to worry about spacing with peas. Typically, you don't have to thin them, so they work really well in that regard. And you can plant them nice and early when kids are eager to plant and you can't really get other things going. So, in my thinking, I know that I'm going to plant peas here, and once the peas are over, because they'll end like in July, then I'm going to switch to putting lettuce in here, or maybe some mid-season carrots. So I'm going to put them in here, knowing that they also are going to require a trellis. So keeping that in mind, I always plant shade-loving things or things that might benefit from shade with peas, like lettuce or spinach. So I'm going to plant my peas in here. I'm going to go, because they're going to go on a net, I'm going to go 2 rows, and the net's going to go in the middle. My netting is going to be Hortonova netting that you can get from Johnny Select Seeds or at your garden center. For right now, I'm going to use these small posts, these small U-posts. I am going to switch these out for some 6-foot posts. But for the purpose of this today, I'm using them. So my peas are going to go here and here on each end of the netting. My peas are right there.
Yes. I had them in my hand just a second ago, and then I set them back down.
With peas, with any seed, like I said, I soaked these peas overnight. A lot of peas will require inoculation, and I can never say that word, where you nick the seed with a blade or soak them overnight. I never bother nicking them with a blade. Could you imagine? I would make such a mess. So I just soak them overnight. And you can kind of see them come to life a bit. They'll go from being shriveled to kind of plumped up. So this is awesome to do with kids. They're easy to hold. You don't have to worry about spacing. You really don't have to be fussy with it. When kids are planting in the field, I tell them to go, well, with their fingers, I tell kids 3 fingers apart. But you can just put them right down. And anytime you're planting seeds, the proper depth to plant is double the width of the seed. So that's not deep at all. I do plant a little deeper when I'm planting direct outside because of the critters that are attracted to this. So you will get so many little critters trying to eat your peas. So that's why, if anything, guys, double down on your seeds. If you're worried about critters getting into your garden, you can always pull up more if you feel like you have to thin, but critters will get to them. So see how I'm just going back and doubling down on what I planted? I'm just doing that knowing that I'm gonna have some loss on them. And then, other things you can do to help protect your pea seeds so that they don't get eaten by critters are I have this bird netting that we're going to put on top of the peas. And you can probably see, Cameron, see how I have the next bed over?
Yep.
Has about 200 tulips in it. And the reason I have that wooden netting on there is because they were getting eaten so badly by the deer. And I had some net down, but the deer were still getting through that. And I put that lattice down, and it has helped so much. You can see that just having the lattice down helps keep the deer away. So with my peas, knowing that deer are already coming here, with my peas, I'm going to put down some netting to help them. Also, another thing you can use to help keep critters away is coyote urine. Have you ever used that?
Yes.
Have you used it?
Yeah.
It works. It smells awful.
Yep.
Never use it on a windy day.
We used to have actually a liquid fertilizer that was a fermented salmon. That was a fertilizer, but it worked as a deer repellent too. It was amazing. Yeah.
So I'm just going through and covering my peas. Because I work with kids and we're all very visual, I do mark where my row is because I want kids to be able to see that. I do not tamp down hard. I'm patting it down because we're expecting rain today and I want to know where this row is, but I'm just delicately making the form there. So again, I'm going to go through and just cover these up. It don't have to be that deep, but always, guys, always read the back of your seed packet. That'll tell you exactly when to plant, how deep to plant, and any special germination information you need to know. Okay. Peas are in the ground. What do we do next, Cameron?
Are you putting the netting on?
No,
Is that what you're doing?
You gotta label it. Because I forget everything. I always think I'll remember,
I'm such a bad student.
but I don't. Speaking of student, Cameron and I are taking
Oh, no, no,
Master Gardening course. I'm almost
Okay.
done student.
Yeah. You just let's move away from that subject.
Sugar snaps, please. Sugar snaps. I always write what we're planting and the date. 4/5/21. All right, so we're gonna put that there, and then we've got another one.
Can I get some special, tutoring before we do this, so I know what the questions are going to be before they come up?
Yeah, do people have questions?
You know what? I was going to say people should ask questions. We get a lot of people watching, which is great. And I think we do need to encourage people to ask whatever comes to their mind.
All right, now that we have peas in the ground, everything is labeled, we are going to top dress. Peas are really hungry. If you think about it, they're fast, right? Like you plant them in winter. They're some of the first things to go in the ground, so they need a lot of vitamins and nutrients.
Yep.
They also, they're fast producing. So they love things like fish emulsion, kelp, mycorrhizal, everything in the Stonington mix. Now, Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Stonington is awesome because it has a little bit of everything for plants that love to eat. It has
It's actually designed for heavy feeding plants. So it's going to have a little more biological density in it. Yeah.
Look at this. So this is the Maine, the Coast of Maine raised bed mix, and this is the Stonington mix. Both incredible organic Maine products, but you can see the difference in them. So peas love to eat. I'm going to throw down the Stonington mix. Coast of Maine does also make a Stonington, what do you call it?
Well, that is the other thing that probably most of the time people are going to want to do our Stonington plant food, but this is one of those moments where you say, look, this has all the diversity that you need. It's cured. It's going to be gentle on the plants. It's designed as a container mix, but it's perfect for this application too.
Also, at the beginning of the season, I really want to add to my soil right now. This is a raised bed. The materials in here are going to stay in this square, and I want to make sure I'm adding to my soil right now because it's still so early in the season. The soil will continue to get compact and drained, so the more I can add beginning of the season, the better. So
this is going to be that it's also, because it's cured, it's going to be a gentle feed for those. It's going to give them plenty of food. It's going to be like raising kids. You've set the table properly. And that's what you're doing.
Okay, so we've got our nice clean bed. We added some Coast of Maine raised bed mix. we broad forked it to aerate the soil. We planted our peas. We doubled it down, knowing that some critters are going to get to them. And now we top dressed with the Stonington blend. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna put netting on. Because
Oh, see, I knew the netting was coming up.
you had
so.
to. It was over my supply area. I hadn't touched it yet. All right. So a couple of things when it comes to netting. I love this netting. I love this netting. This netting is called Hortanova. I get it at johnny'sflexseeds.com. This comes 6 tall and as long as you need it. At the farm we do 6 by 200, I think. For here we don't need that much. So eventually when the peas are about 3 inches, I'm going to come out and put this Hortanova netting up now. I'm not going to do that right now because I just want to make sure they germinate right now and that they have a strong beginning. So I'm just going to protect them from critters, birds, deer, things like that. So I'm going to put down this really old disintegrating bird netting. This is just simple
This is bird
netting.
netting? Okay.
Skillins or your local nursery.
Always go to your local nursery.
I love local nurseries.
Yeah.
This time of year, you guys, this time of year, if you're just like at the house, like, what can I do? Go to your nursery. Like, I want to take the kids. Have you ever been to Snug Harbor?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
I
Yeah,
really
it's
wanna
awesome.
Go there. I've never
Yeah,
been.
it's,
I wanna go.
no.
Okay, so I'm just taking this netting because it's early season and I don't have anything else that needs it right now. I'm just going to double down and use all of it. I have, I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to use my U-post to hold on to it. And I'll anchor it down a bit. Just anchor it.
And for those of you watching, go ahead and ask questions as they come to your mind. We'll try to get those to Steph.
Ask any
And
questions.
once this is over, if you want to invite your friends, this is going to be on our Facebook page. So you can re-watch it for any information that you feel like you might have missed too.
Great. All right. So now, I just have netting over here. I'm going to get some landscape staples. Actually, we can just use soil. What I'm going to do, I'll use this. I just take soil.
This-
You don't need anything fancy. Just use soil to hold it down.
Well, this is what farmers and gardeners do, right? You don't have to have everything laid out perfectly. It's just finding what works.
Finding what works and using what you have available to you in the moment. Because a lot of the times you're like way out in a field and you don't have access
Exactly.
to what you're looking for. And here, actually what I'm going to do is just use my rake to put some soil on. Now, a couple of things. Other things you can plant right now are lettuce, spinach, arugula, radish, and of course you can start seeds inside, but those are just things that you can start direct seeding outside right now. We're here in Maine, Zone 5B. We just planted some peas, and fingers crossed the critters will stay out of there. I think we did a good job protecting them, and that's our farming at noon with Coast of Maine and Farm to Table Kids.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Tell your friends.
That's right.
All right.
Farming.